Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News, or GGN. Today is Thursday, October 22nd, 2020. And I'm going to try to segue from yesterday's video into today's because I realized after I uploaded this yesterday, the title was Perpetual Lockdowns and Permanent Face Coverings, the New Normal. And I went through all these different articles here, and when I got to this article right here, I guess my microphone cut off, and it was weird because I was building up in that video to this article, and I made a really good point, and then I realized that, well, it was completely deleted from the video. So I'm going to start basically from there. So just to recap, if you didn't see this video, I went in the first videos, I went through the mask and mandates and all that, and this one I went through more of the lockdowns and getting back to normal, where all the experts basically say we're never getting back to normal. We can never be back to normal. Ireland goes into full level 5 lockdown. France curfews. UK introduce a new corona color-coded lockdown. New York and Cuomo, some experimental new lockdown. And it just kept going on. And I got to this one, what's behind the WHO's lockdown mixed messages. And I didn't get to finish here, but it was basically the day after Navarro made his remarks, the WHO director flatly contradicted him, declaring that lifting lockdowns would be a recipe for unnecessary infections, suffering, and death. Allowing a dangerous virus that we don't fully understand to run free is simply unethical, and it's not an option. So the point that I was getting to was, after covering all these different stories about lockdowns, and you're not sure if you're going to be locked down, are we going to go back to normal? You don't have to wear a mask. It's not effective. Then you have to wear a mask, or else. We have a vaccine coming. It's on its way, but it may not work. But we may mandate that you take the vaccine in order to work and have custody of your children. And just recently, the article came out about social distancing, that the whole 6 feet rule may go out the window, but you're still going to have to do it. From yesterday, hey, guess what? Food shortages are coming back. And the whole point is to confuse the hell out of people and give all kinds of conflicting information so that people are utterly exhausted and they don't know what to do, and they just basically give up. And I saw that yesterday. After I made that video and I went out, I talked to somebody, and I can actually see them experiencing that exhaustion and that fear and anxiety. I went into these articles after this article right here, where I talked about old people too old to find new jobs. They're basically giving up. They have no help. A Google search study suggests that the pandemic may cause future surge in suicide rates. A lockdown will kill more people than COVID-19 does. So, of course, Angela Merkel starts to lock things down. And just on and on. Yeah, so when I was talking to this person, she had gone through cancer treatment in the spring, and then the lockdown happened and whatnot. But she was worried that this lockdown that's going to be coming up, she's like, I could just feel it. I could feel my anxiety rising because I have to go back for treatment, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. Like this article says here, a lot of people are going to die because they're not going to get this treatment because the hospitals are going to be emptied for these waves of COVID patients that last time never came and won't come again, because it's all based off a lie. So I'm going to start with a quote here and then move on to the whole environmental sustainable agenda, which is where this is going. That's the point, is sustainability, the green agenda, the carbon tax, to essentially bring in everything that they wanted to, which is a depopulation agenda. We are in a crisis, the worst crisis in my lifetime since the Second World War. I would describe it as a revolutionary moment when the range of possibilities is much greater than in normal times. What is inconceivable in normal times becomes not only possible, but actually happens. People are disoriented and they're scared. They do things that are bad for them and for the world. And this is the same person that sends out these young revolutionaries, these Black Lives Matter revolutionaries, to terrorize people in towns and Americans. It's sad that we're living in a time now that you can't even mention this guy's name in the news. So I'm sure this video will probably be banned. Like I said yesterday, my volume was cut off. I've never had that happen. I mean, I have, but not like the way it did yesterday. My internet went out after uploading that video. And I actually realized that my other channel, Race for Survival, was deleted. I didn't even know that because I hadn't signed in for 6 months. So that's 3 channels out of 4 that have been deleted. And I have the feeling that this DDarko 2013, the last man standing, is going to go down too. So we're going to move on here. Manchester mayor rejects UK government's experimental lockdown. The dispute between the ministers and this mayor, who doesn't want the lockdown, centers on the financial package to offer people whose livelihoods are affected by closures. So he's resisting a Tier 3 lockdown. They actually have something called a government scientific advisory panel. So that's the future. Scientists in white coats ruling over every part of your life. But they said the general feeling among these experts, was that regional restrictions would not work. But it depends on what you define as work. Will it keep people restricted, their travel, everything, locked up in their houses? Yes. Will it stop the spread of a supposedly really bad, deadly virus? No. So the second part of that article was Boris Johnson telling Andy Burnham, this is the mayor, to obey him or people will die in a brutal ultimatum. Move on here, but I just wanted to throw this in the beginning because this is what it's all about. Is these lockdowns are going to cost people their livelihoods. They won't, lose their jobs. If they're business owners, they'll lose their businesses, and they already have. We've seen that. So now they want more stricter lockdowns. So what the Boris Johnson guy is basically saying is that you're going to kill a bunch of people unless you impose this lockdown. And this other guy, the mayor, saying, well, I'm not against the lockdown. I'm just against not giving these people money so that they can live when this basically destroys them. I mentioned this in yesterday's video really quick. The pandemic has benefited one group of people, the billionaires. 16 American billionaires are worth at least twice as much as they were in March. Billionaires make $53 billion in 1 week as small businesses continue to close. Then on to food shortages, like I was mentioning in that article that just came out yesterday. Food shortage simulation predicts 400% increase in food prices by 2030. This was back in 2015. They had individuals that were international policymakers, corporate businessmen, academics, quote, leaders in thought, or you could say experts, who ran a simulation of a world food crisis that would begin in 2020 and run to 2030. So, how, coincidental. Kind of like the 2010 Rockefeller report, talking about how we would have to go into some kind of authoritarian type of system in order to control the pandemic. Or Event 201, with Bill Gates and the World Economic Forum basically saying exactly what happened would happen. Says one of the things, there would be a number of climate-related weather events. I'm sure those are man-made through weather modification, like they've been doing. But yeah, prices would rise 400%. One of the other things they found was, in the simulation, one governmental solution was a tax on meat, and another a global carbon tax, which I was talking about with GGN for a while, and I've mentioned the synthetic meat and that. Bill Gates is also backing synthetic meat. They're trying to push people into vegetarian diets, while the elites, of course, will be eating, like I said, organic meats. United Nations warns famine of biblical proportions is imminent due to COVID-19, and millions are to starve. They said that people experiencing malnutrition will grow by 80% by the end of the year. The numbers of people unable to earn enough to feed themselves will cause a huge spike in malnutrition by the end of this year. So it's not the best news to be bringing you guys, but this is reality, and this is what's happening. And this is all being done by design. 55 million people face famine as COVID-ravaged economies fail to meet funding goals. It says in March the UN called for $10 billion in emergency funding to deal with the worldwide basically impact the pandemic was expected to bring. Unfortunately, it's received barely a quarter of what it's asked for from donors. Well, that's what it's designed to do. not help people survive, but to promote regime change, to promote vaccinations, to promote the sustainability agenda, the green agenda, carbon tax. Much like a lot of the aid, or most of the $8 trillion that were signed in these COVID stimulus bills were supposed to go to help businesses. Well, it went to big corporations mostly. Most of the small businesses went under. Most of that money, like 75% of it, went to businesses and to actual people, taxpayers that needed it. They got about 25% of that. It's not that something went wrong. It's exactly how it's supposed to play out. Food chain reaction crisis simulation ends with a global carbon tax. That's what we're talking about. That's what this whole universal basic income is about just throwing a little bit of scraps to people as their jobs are being taken away by automation and AI. And don't forget, foreign workers, immigrants, you could say, are sending jobs over to other countries for cheap labor for big corporations to rake in the profits like China did. So they'll just pay them this basic income, just enough to scrape by, not enough to really prosper, to have a family and stuff like that. It actually says in here, I was reading about it, and it said one of the ways they were going to fund that was with a carbon tax. And I guess for those who still have jobs, an income tax to just raise income tax, raise property taxes. One of the things they said was they were worried that it wouldn't be distributed evenly. And that's the main thing about this, is redistribution of wealth under the guise of sustainability and climate change to help those in need. We all know where the redistribution of wealth will be, right? It'll go from whoever is working in the middle class, lower class, and it'll go to the top 1%. You will get little, like we're talking about carbon credits, you'll get little government credits for this basic income, and it'll all be digital currency, which is what they've been rolling out. That's the purpose of this fake coin shortage that they were talking about, telling people to use credit cards and whatnot to help prevent the spread. I mean, all this has been planned. That's how sick these people are, to coerce you into this system, creating a digital currency. Here's China, September 8th, how China's closing in on its own digital currency. So it's not just one place. It's the whole world. It's a globalist system. It'll be in your phone, but it could also be a chip within your body. And they have patents for this. I was reading about that cryptocurrency system using body activity data, and some of the numbers there are 6006. Also, we have bills that are pushing for this, so they're going to be able to trace you when you receive your credits. And this will all be done through what? Through a vaccine. Tech giants Google, Oracle, to monitor Americans who get COVID-19 vaccine. This H.R. 666 bill, COVID-19 testing, reaching, and contact tracing, called the TRACE Act. And this was brought up by Bobby Rush in May of this year, 2020. Bill Gates intends to vaccinate the global population against COVID-19 and then track and monitor each one through digital surveillance. Rolling blackouts. California has first rolling blackouts in 19 years. I've noticed that here in the Midwest, blackouts are now common. Food supply spontaneously combusting, controlled demolition of supply chain. I've heard other stories, I think Lebanon, that's what happened over there. But it's all about artificial scarcity, creating that crisis. Then they offer the solution. I'm moving fast here, so stick with me. The Great Reset that was launched by the World Economic Forum. It says unelected world leaders use COVID-19 hoax to launch sinister climate agenda. Sky News host says that the next World Economic Forum, those are the ones that were behind Event 201, this supposed pandemic that was supposed to break out, like just months later, turned into a sinister anti-democratic enterprise designed to destroy your job, steal your prosperity, and rob your kids of a future. Leaders rally for a great reset to achieve global goals. What are those goals? Public-private collaboration, redistribution of wealth, sustainability, which is less for you and more for them. Conservatives warn that globalist cabal's great reset will undo global economies and worsen problems. And Time magazine's cover in July, just a couple of months after the pandemic broke out, sustainability. Two things happened before the pandemic broke out. Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accord and the UN climate talks that ended without meeting goals of what? To cut emissions and create a global, basically carbon tax. But in the end, they're going to get their great reset. Thank you.